and welcome to Live Q&A here on the Dice Tower. It's been a while since I've done this, and yeah, we're have some normal weeks here on the Dice Tower before Gen Con approaches. Gen Con is, well, it's 2.5 weeks from today, but for us it's 2 weeks from today. We're driving up. We have lots of things to do. There is a lot going on, a lot of preparation. We got the Dice Tower Gaming Awards at Gen Con. I'm glad to see you all this morning. Hey, while I have you guys here, you want some reading? The Casual Games Insider. So this is actually on Kickstarter right now, and you can go check it out. But if you just like looking at pictures of games, this is pretty fun to go through. There's a lot of sponsored, advertisements in here, but there's also a lot of different little reviews and articles about games. So I think this is the newest one here. Yep, summer 2024. So in here, there's actually a game you can print out and play. Anyway, just thought I'd mention that to you all here, the Casual Game Insider on Kickstarter now. We'll talk more about that in crowd surfing this week. A lot of things coming up this week, including later on today, we are going to be talking about the checkout games at Dice Tower East. I meant to do that Friday, and then I got sick. So that made for a slightly unpleasant weekend, I suppose. I got sick on Friday, had a small fever that lasted through Saturday. Some remnants throughout the weekend. I missed a picnic I organized. When you organize the picnic, it's kind of tough to miss it, but it sounds like everyone had a good time. So anyhow, this is questions and answers here on the Dice Tower, and we're going to answer your questions if you have any, so go for it. Will the Dice Tower Awards be broadcasted live from Gen Con? Yes, Gen Con TV will be playing them live. We will grab that and stick it on our own channel at some point so you can watch it later. But Gen Con TV will have them on it. Let's see here. The article about thrift shopping was pretty good in the CGI this month. Yeah. Print and play, I'm half expecting Joey to come in right. Well, no, it's not print and play. This will just be cut and play because it's already printed for you. Hope you're feeling better now. Thank you. I am. Tom recently went to Disney World and rode the Guardians of the Galaxy ride at Epcot. It has to be the best roller coaster I've ever ridden. Have you ridden it yet? I have not. I haven't been to Disney in almost a decade. I think. Yeah. Well, when my son died, Jack, which is a long time ago, we went to Disney. So we haven't been to Disney since. I don't know what Disney is like, actually. Disney's pretty expensive. I might go to Disney at some point with my family, since especially the majority of the ones that are at the house now have never went the first time. So no, I just haven't been there. Good morning, Tom. Good morning to you. Are there any themes for games that are immediate turnoffs for you? Yeah, I mean, of course, but I mean, if it's hey, this game's going to be as filthy as it possibly can be, that's a turnoff for me. But other than that, I would just call them as I see them, I suppose. What games did you see played at Dice Tower surprised you the most? Well, that you were trying to get information from the video later on today. We'll talk about that because there are some on here that definitely surprised me. There's some that did not surprise me. I was like, well, I'm expected to see that one up there, but there's a lot here that I was surprised at. There's also games, as always, that I'm surprised at that nobody plays, but that's just how these things work. That got played 7 times. Interesting. Alrighty. How excited are you for DC United? Very excited. Are you planning to go on for it and mix and match with Marvel United? You betcha. I asked this question a few weeks ago. You answered it by suggesting I ask again later. What do you think will be the hot new game at Gen Con? At Gen Con, the hot new game. Oh, that's a hard one because I don't know what the hot... It's hard to know what new is in this category, right? Like Sky Team isn't particularly new, but that's going to be one of the hottest games there. I don't know. I mean, I'd like to say Comic Hunters, but that's kind of self-serving. I don't know at this point in time. I know I told you to put up. But next week we will be doing some Gen Con previews, so we'll talk about some of that stuff then. And I'll have some more research done at that point. What is a roguelike game? How does it differ from roguelite? Okay, so I don't know exactly what a I'll hear a roguelite game. So before I look at the definition online, I'm under the impression that a roguelite game is a game in which you go through and play, and at some point you die or lose or whatever, and you restart the game, but you maintain things from game to game. And that the path of the game is not particularly linear, and that things can change and be different. So let's see what is roguelike versus roguelite. Roguelike games, the genre has to strictly adhere to certain characteristics. Permadeath, procedurally generated maps, and turn-based combat. Roguelite games take them and blend them with other genres. Oh, it's not very helpful. They're challenging games where players attempt runs with different abilities and random elements that generally force the player to restart from zero or near zero for each attempt. What's the difference between roguelike and roguelite? I didn't even know there was a difference here. And I'm at Game Informer. So roguelike is a game you play, you die, you hit replay, but nothing is kept between your attempts. You will always play the game from a blank slate. Never mind. Roguelite can add things like permanent upgrades and enhancements that make your future runs, your future tries easier, and has progression systems that do not exist in roguelikes. I like those better. Okay. Well, there's your answer from the internet. Oh, the screen blanked behind me. Now it looks weird. Huh. It is weird. I wonder why it blanked. Well, you know what? We'll leave the weirdness there for now. I'm about to jump on a 13-hour plane ride. Any quick game recommendations to download? Well, if you have an iPad, download Final Fantasy Tactics, and you'll be set for the entire 13 hours. How did the Trey Parker collab happen? Like, how'd y'all meet? I was going to L.A., this was years ago, working with Above Board, and I said, hey, I'm here in the area. If anyone wants to play any games, let me know. And he texted me and said, hey, this is Trey Parker from South Park. Do you want to play games? And I was like, who is this really? So we went over and checked out his headquarters of South Park, a place I never thought I would go to. Played some games there. Then I went right to the airport. And so then we just kept in contact a little bit, back and forth. He had listened to our podcast. And then, he had said he wanted to help out our Kickstarter. And I said, hey, it would help us if you came into the top 10. And he said, sure, I can do that. And I was like, when? He's like, well, I have to work around my busy schedule. And he found the time, and we did it. And so that's how it happened. Will we be returning again? I haven't asked him to. He has shown up at our conventions a few times. Did we play a game after the interview? We went and ate instead, actually. How do you become a contributor for Board Game Breakfast or Smorgasbord? Well, for Board Game Breakfast, you'd have to email Chris@dicetower.com. He handles that. For Smorgasbord, you don't. Sometimes Board Game Breakfast contributors come over to Smorgasbord, which is our choice. But if the Smorgasbord people, I only have a few of them, and it's me hunting them down, not the other way around. Mike Howard says, I personally checked out a couple of older games to show some folks and also mess with the data a little bit. Yeah, but that stuff doesn't affect me because to me, a 0 to 2 doesn't really change anything, right? Like, I don't sit here and go, well, that was checked out twice. Well, then it must be loved. No, I think, no, Mike Howard, other people exist. They may have checked it out just to show people. So, I know your game. It's a bigger deal when I see a game I think should be popular and it's only been checked out twice. It's a bigger deal when I see a game that I think isn't very popular at all and was checked out 10 times. That's what matters. Have I announced when the most anticipated Gen Con games video will be released? I have not. It will be next week. I don't know when, but it will just be next week. Nice die. Well, thank you. I looked at BGG and the Comic Coners cover has only the Spin Masters logo. Does that mean it won't be part of Dice Tower Essentials, or is it a contract thing? It's probably a contract thing. I think Dice Tower Essentials is on the back. If you played any games for the first time at Dice Tower East, which one did you enjoy the most? I did play some for the first time at Dice Tower East, and I think the one I enjoyed the most was an ice game, whose name is escaping me right now. But that would be the one that I played for the first time that I enjoyed. What's one cool off-grid social event I should go for? I'm assuming you mean at Gen Con. I'm going to be spending a lot of time alone this Gen Con. Like off-grid social event? I don't know. One that's fun to go to, but it's not off-grid. So for me, Gen Con just so busy, and like we start, and Wednesday is setup day, and talk to as many people as I possibly can day. That's a lot of stuff to do in one day, but I'll try to get it done. That's Wednesday. Thursday is day one. A lot of things going on, but Thursday night is the Dice Tower Awards. So by the time Dice Tower Awards are done, I'm like, whew, okay, now I can relax. But then I go to bed. Friday, we have our Kickstarter party for some of our Kickstarter backers, and then we have another full day. Saturday night is the only night I have free, and I usually just walk around and look at stuff. That's what I do on Saturday night. I will go to, I'm trying to think. I will go Saturday night. I will head over to, sometimes I go to the Card Hala where they're knocking all the cards down with cards. That's fun to do. It just depends what I'm in the mood to do on Saturday night. And Sunday night, I'm on the road, coming back. Any good video games you've been playing recently? I've mostly just been playing Elden Ring and the new downloadable content for it, which I've been doing pretty well at, actually. I'm not as bad at Elden Ring as I used to be, that's for sure. Now, I mean, I've over-leveled, so people can complain about that, and I use every trick in the book. I haven't got to the final boss in the downloadable content, but I know where they are, and I've gotten to their area. Their area is very difficult. And there's lots of optional bosses that I have not yet fought. There's one mounted guy who's giving me some problems. I'm going to go back and fight him. And there's another boss that has 3 level bars, which I was surprised at. So I know where these bosses are, and I go fight them occasionally. And there's some dragons I got to go kill and things like that. There's lots of stuff for me to do. I've unlocked most of the areas, I think. There's still some dungeons and things I haven't gone into. Are there any games that intrigue you because of their country of origin? I don't think so. I don't know what that means exactly. Like, oh, this game's from where? It would just be, for me, if I ever see a game from a country that I've not seen a game from before, that would be something that I'd be interested in. What any DC United characters or boxes you hope will drop? I don't know if they're going to do Kingdom Come and all that stuff, Batman Beyond. I mean, they still haven't done most of the regular stuff, right? They have Batman's Rogues Gallery, which could literally be like 3 boxes. They have the Green Lantern Corps, which they haven't touched. And there's Flashpoint. And Aquaman could have his own box. I don't know how interesting that would be or what people would want in it. But yeah, I don't know DC as well as Marvel by far. So I'm just more interested in the Batman villains. Just played Planet Unknown for the first time. I think it'll be a game great when my kids are older. Any recommendation for polyomino games that would work well for young kiddos? Well, I don't know how old your kids are, and that wouldn't be very helpful anyway. I would just look anything that Phil Walker Harding has done. He's done a lot of polyomino games that might work well in that regard. Do I remember what my favorite combo in Leviathan Wilds was? No. I like the one guy who can jump. I don't remember who that is. I remember liking that character. I have so far backed only one game on Kickstarter this year. The games in there don't seem to grab me as much anymore. How is your crowdfunding spending faring this year compared to previous years? I don't really compare them. I don't know. I back stuff on Kickstarter for the Dice Tower, so it's very different than me backing it for myself. If I was backing stuff myself, I would back very, very little because, well, I would just assume that good games will eventually come out. But I would back some stuff just because I would want the extras and the Kickstarter exclusives. Like I would back any CMON project I thought I really liked, which would, for me, would mostly just be the Marvel United stuff or the United stuff. Wasn't Santorini Riddle of the Sphinx coming this year? Santorini Riddle of the Sphinx. Yes, that's the cooperative expansion for Santorini. I haven't heard much more about it. We had a live play of it on the Dice Tower that I'm assuming I was not in that live play because I don't remember it. It was Z. Oh, this was the puzzle one. I think Chris and Wendy played that. I think it's already out, isn't it? I feel like we got a final copy of it, maybe. Oh, maybe it's coming out later this year. I've not played it, so I don't know. But I might be interested in playing it. Did you get your glasses from Warby Parker? No, I got them from Pear Eyewear. They have these things on them where you can change the colors. So this is not a big change. It's just like a blue that matches my shirt today. I have some that match very specific ties, but normally I just get them to match. I have just different colors. Did I mean Noonattack? I asked myself. And yes, Noonattack would be the game that I played at Dice Tower East that was new to me that I enjoyed the most, I think. At Gen Con, what are some of your favorite nearby places to eat? Well, if you can afford it, and by afford it, I mean find someone else who will take you there. St. Elmo's is the best steakhouse I've ever been to in my life, and that's around the world. And I would be hard-pressed to find a place better than St. Elmo's. Ocean Air is also one of the best seafood restaurants I've ever been to in my life, and that's pretty interesting considering how landlocked Indianapolis is. But take those out of the thing. I don't know. I used to say Rathskeller's, which was a German restaurant down the street from them, but it was so bad the last time we went. I don't know if I'd go there again. Well, I was just about to say Mimi Blue, but I just saw that Mimi Blues has gone out of business. So, go figure. Where do I go when I'm at Gen Con? Because I don't eat a whole lot of different things. I usually just go around and find something that's open. But I always walk away from the convention center. The farther you get from the convention center, the better the restaurants get and such. But again, I haven't been to a restaurant in Gen Con. I don't go to that many. I just go to the food trucks outside during the day. And then Thursday night, I just go to whatever's open at night. Friday, I do pizza. Oh, there's actually a little deli there called Shapiro's, which is really good. It closes at 7, though. So if you're going to go after the exhibit hall closes, you need to rush there right away. And if you're not going to go there after the exhibit hall closes, then you need to go there during the day. So there's that. Has Tom wished Mike happy birthday? I did not know it was his birthday. Happy birthday, Mike. Which everyone is now saying in chat. I bet Korean games get Tom's interest. Well, yes, but I don't know that much necessarily better than anything else. Any games you're hoping to get a copy of in time for the Dice Tower Retreat? I don't know about that. I mean, there's so many games that we have right now at the Dice Tower that I haven't played, that I'm very interested in playing. I mean, we're talking lots and lots of games. There's probably 20 to 30 games right now that I'm very interested in playing. So then I know that when I go to Gen Con, we're going to get another 20 to 30 of these very interested in games. So I'm fine. We have enough games. If I had to take the library as is Dice Tower Retreat, we would be okay right now. Yeah, Barron Park is a good one for kids. What one event or activity would you like to go and do again in Korea? Eat kimchi or budae jjigae? For sure. Have you tried Abomination with the variant that the creator made that makes the game shorter and better? I have not. You know, this is just, it's an unfair thing. But for most games, you got one shot. You really do. It's not fair, but you have one shot when it comes to these games. And so there have been many games where people said, hey, the designers made it better. They did a variant for this and that. And that may be true. I just don't know that I want to go back and try it. It should have been the way it was initially when it came out, and that's not fair. And if I owned the game, you know, and I didn't play new games all the time, then I probably would do it. But because I play new games all the time, it's harder to get me to go back and do it. I've done it on a rare occasion. I've done it a few times, but I very rarely do. Have I tried True Dungeon at Gen Con? I have tried True Dungeon at Gen Con. So True Dungeon is a very intriguing, the whole thing is an intriguing kind of setup. So if you don't know what True Dungeon is, it is essentially a mix of an escape room with a pseudo-dungeon crawl that uses dexterity. So what it is you go in and you are either solving a puzzle, and the puzzle is like find things that you can find from an escape room. Like one time, I remember we had to connect pipes that were blowing air to make a ping pong ball go through a thing a certain way. But there's also combat. When you go to combat, there's a bad guy. Sometimes that bad guy is in the room. They're dressed up like, ah, but there's a board that will show a picture of the bad guy. And then you'll take these discs and you are flicking these discs onto the board that will show, and you're trying to get them on certain spots of the bad guy to do damage to that bad guy. Your discs, the way they do damage is the direction of that disc, the weapon that disc is, based on where it lands, based on special abilities. And there are thousands of these discs. You can buy them. Unfortunately, the disc thing for me is a negative on the game because there's so many. There's rarities. It's like a collectible card game thing. There's ultra rares. People that you go through and you get some and you're like, ooh, I guess I need to go through again. So that exists. It's a very fun thing if you like escape rooms and you like things. Well, the first time I went through with some friends and they said you can join us. And I went and I enjoyed myself mostly, but I definitely felt like a 10th wheel because they're like parties of 10 people. I mean, I remember the first time and I got a disc and I was like, ooh, I'm going to use this disc. And I was like, ooh, I don't have an armor. And one guy was like, well, what do you need? And opened up his jacket and he had chips all up and down his jacket. And I was like, wow, I'm not into this game enough, I guess. So I went with these people and they are having a great time and they were very nice. So there was nothing negative about it, but I just felt again like I didn't really know everybody. But then, so the next year I paid for the Dice Tower people to go, or a lot of my friends to go, and we had a good time, although I still think we had like 8 of the slots, and so 2 more people got thrown in with us, and I really don't like that. I'm not a big fan of that when escape room games do that either. They're like, we're going to throw some people in that you don't know, and you're like, well, thanks. And I mean, it can work out, but it might not work out. And that was fine. We had a really good time. But when I looked at the amount of money that we spent on it, it's crazy expensive. Like the amount of money you spend on True Dungeon. So I don't even know how much True Dungeon costs at Gen Con. So let's look this up here. True Dungeon costs Gen Con. Let's take a look here. It's $108 per ticket. Holy cow. That is a 7-room dungeon. All the quality, fun, and adventure of a 7-room dungeon, but presented in a 4-room sealed pack format. Okay, so 100 and... So let me see here. The cost of the ticket includes 2 free 10 packs of 2024 treasure tokens at $20 value. Okay. 3 draws from a random thing. So it's $118 per ticket. And for some people, $118 per ticket is great. These people do not attend Dice Tower East because the people attend Dice Tower East complain that we're overcharging, and we don't charge $118 for 2 hours. So now this one's only $108. Okay, never mind. So one was $118, the other was $108. Maybe there's a cheaper one. Nope, that's $108. And here's a more budget-friendly one. Oh, that's the one I was reading about. This budget-friendly one, it can run 1.5 hours, but I'm not seeing the cost of it here. Either way, that's expensive. And that's for one person. Like, I can go to many amusement parks for that price. So I get it. And again, I'm not trying to put down any sort of aspirations on it. They're taking up a huge chunk of Gen Con. I know how much real estate at Gen Con costs. They're hiring actors and volunteers and so I'm sure that it's worth it. It's just too expensive for me. Because $108, let's take the cheaper one, and I want to go through with 8 of my friends, that's $1,000 for 2 hours. That's a lot of money, regardless. And $1,000, we could buy a lot of board games with $1,000. So it's a tough thing, and I get, again, that people do it, and people are really into it and all, and I had fun, I've done it, and I feel if someone paid for me, and I want to be really clear, I am not fishing for this at all. If someone paid for me and said, would you come with me, I would consider it because I enjoyed it. But again, it would have to be a time that worked, you know what I mean? There would have to be time, and I would want to know at least more than one person. Like if one person, hey, come with me and my friends. I'm like, I don't know. I mean, and I'm fairly extroverted and everything. So it's an interesting idea. It's fun. I'll also tell you this. I took Dice Tower people, and everyone said, yeah, it was pretty good. But no one has ever asked to go again. So there's that too. So True Dungeon is cool. I'm just not sure it is for us. Let's see here. What all have you kept for Massive Darkness 2? I kept all the heroes, and then I kept as many villains and many monsters I could fit into one box. Do I ever solo the game? I do not. Do you ever purchase a second copy to keep at home? I do not. So you don't have to keep taking it from the library. No, I don't do that. Hi, do you still like Elder Char? I do, but I don't know if I would play it again just because of how long it is. Anything similar I'd recommend? I don't know. There's nothing really similar to Elder Char, but there are lots of shorter games. I'd play Mansions of Madness first. Any chance of a cardboard box for Forbidden Desert with the next Dice Tower Kickstarter? I don't get this. I mean, I'm assuming Forbidden Desert comes in a tin, and I don't like tins. But I would have to get permission from GameRight to make a box and then ship a box. That's super expensive. I'll say there's 0 chance. And what about Arcs? I have not played Arcs yet. I know that several people here have played it and are reviewing it this week. Arcs is going to get played by me this year. You know, there's a lot of games I'm like, I'll get around that. I will play Arcs at some point just because there's so much buzz on it. Are there enough games to make a top 10 games that use the box as a game component? There probably is. That's interesting. I will think about that. Oh my goodness, just a general idea, but it'd be awesome to watch a Dice Tower crew play a mega game like Watch the Skies. If I could find out, and I need to look into this, if there's ever a free weekend and there is a mega game in driving range of us, and I'm talking, Miami, Fort Lauderdale, maybe Tampa. Tampa's pretty far though, Orlando, whatever. I would love to go to one of those and take whoever here would be interested in that, because I would love to play in a big mega game like that, and it would be fun to record it and do that. But I haven't really put a lot of effort into finding that. But that would be a fun thing to do. Who makes the puns and the titles of the review videos? It's Mike and Chris who do those. Were you ever forced to ban people from a Dice Tower con? I don't know what that means, forced to ban people. I don't like to ban anybody from anything, right? There have been people who have been banned from our cons before, and I will not and have not released names of such things. But like if you came to a con and stole things, you would be banned from it. And there could be other things, but it is not a particularly lengthy list. It will never be particularly lengthy. I try to get along with as many people as possible that can come and play games at our cons. Have I played the new Ticket to Ride map pack yet? I don't know that it's out yet, actually. I remember hearing about a container reprint last fall. I know nothing about that. With Trekking the World Second Edition being so different from the first, do you feel that a game that gets a redesign that much deserves a different title? I don't know. That's tricky. It's hard when you change a game a lot. Should you call it something else? But then people be like, it's basically the same game. It's a lose-lose situation for you. Where did you get the Carcassonne tie? I believe, yeah, I just made it. This was years ago. I used a company called Arts Cow to make it. So I just found a picture of tiles online, and I made a Carcassonne tie. So there you go. And did I catch up in questions? What is that all about? And that's me talking for a really long time about the True Dungeon. So let's get some more questions there. Oh, hang on. Let me drink first. Have I watched a Jim Henson documentary by Ron Howard? I have not, but I plan to at some point. I would like to see that one. Has anyone remade anything similar to Golem Arcana? No. I'm not sure that really drives people to play games. Golem Arcana, I think, would have been enough with the cool miniatures and the combat system. But when you played it, you're playing it all on the iPad and everything, and I was like, well, why do I even need the miniatures? It's just as a weird juxtaposition. Have I ever tried using fountain pens? I probably have used them in my life before, but I don't really care. I just like writing with pens or pencils or whatever. Any holiday plans this summer? No. I don't normally take my holiday over the summer. I do some things. So the day before Dice Tower East, I spend one day with my family. So we went to Volcano Bay this year. So I do that with my family the day before Dice Tower East. So I always had that one day of vacation. And then I do various things with them over the weekends. We'll pick something and do things over the weekend. We might do something this coming weekend. I don't know yet. And yeah, so that's kind of my thought patterns on that. I do vacation a bit over the year. We went up to Pensacola to see Amy graduate, so that was kind of a vacation. We saw that. So there you go. What theme is missing in board games that you would like to see? Most asked question ever. There isn't any. Have I played Reflecto? I'm going to have to look it up now to see. Reflecto. Reflecto is a 2022 game. Roberto Fraga. No, I haven't. It looks interesting, though. Why didn't I play this one? Did we never get a copy of this? I guess we didn't. Huh, that's super interesting. I would like to play this game. Alrighty. What are your most anticipated games for the second half of 2024? Look, people ask about this all the time. So every year we do a most anticipated game list. And I don't even remember what my most anticipated game list was for this year. So most anticipated games of 2024 Dice Tower. So let's see what I put here. Tom's top 10 anticipated games of 2024. Huh. That's weird. Did I do it with everybody? All right, let's see what I said here. So 10, I said Civolution. Okay, that's not come out yet. That's Essence. So there you go. There's one. Forsaken. Well, that's not out yet, so there's two. A Message from the Stars. That's out. I played it. An Age Contrived. Oh, well, that disappointed me tremendously. Once Upon a Time. Well, that looks really cool. That hasn't come out yet, so I guess that's on the list. Dead Cells. That hasn't come out yet, so that's on the list. Critter Kitchen. Well, that hasn't come out yet, so that's on the list. Malya Lands of Legends. Well, that hasn't come out yet, so that's also on the list. Flow. Well, that hasn't come out yet, so that's on the list. And, Clank Legacy 2. There you go. So only 2 of the games on my top 10 anticipated have come out. And one I did not care for, which was An Age Contrived. The other I did enjoy, A Message from the Stars. But the other 8 I have not yet played. So, there you have it. When did I do this? 5 months ago. I really don't remember even doing this. But I don't really look forward to games as much as you might think. I look forward to games, right? But I look forward to games that I know I can play. Like someone says, ooh, there's a good game coming out. Like, let's say Clank Legacy. Clank Legacy 2 is coming soon. Ooh, okay. But meanwhile, what can I play now? That's always kind of where I'm at. What can I play now? What is there a fun thing to play now? And there's so many fun games to play that I just have a great time. Come to Brazil again. Well, I would very much like to come to Brazil. Mal de Vaca. It's about tearing money apart to cover your expenses. Well, that's interesting. I would love to come back to Brazil. Do I have a favorite or go-to faction in Mythic Mischief? I did, but I don't know what it is off the top of my head. I want to say it was the purple faction, but I remember what they were. Who from the Dice Tower staff will be attending Gen Con? The entire Dice Tower crew will be at Gen Con in some manner or fashion. Do you have a favorite food that is seasonal in your mind? No. I mean, the only thing that is partially seasonal would be maybe like soups, right? Because you eat them when it's colder. But I don't really have any food that I think is seasonal. Like Christmas cookies are seasonal. But give me a Christmas cookie in July and I'm going to eat it. I started reading the latest book in the Red Rising series. So far, so good. I've not read the Red Rising series past. I read the original trilogy, which was brutal, but had a very nice ending. And I thought, maybe I just want to leave it there. Because from what I understand, it gets even more brutal and bad in the future books. So I'll just pretend those books never happened. I thought this because over the weekend I watched Return of the Jedi with my son. And I was like, and that's the end. No other movies were ever made. Because whether you like episode 7 or not, it kind of ruins the Return of the Jedi, right? Because Return of the Jedi, like, yeah, we beat the Empire. And then episode 7, they're like, but not really, at all. And then episode 9, they were like, and we mean that. Like everything in episode, anyway. Okay, just get me annoyed. But I forgot how much I like Return of the Jedi. It's what I really like. So I'm not a huge Star Wars fan, but I'm a big Star Wars fan, not huge, but I like Star Wars to some degree. But as I showed my son these original trilogy of movies, I'm just so impressed with the imagination of the world building that goes on in these. Like with Jabba's palace, that whole initial sequence was just so interesting. And there's so many things in these movies, and you're like, well, Jabba's palace was interesting. But then when they go to Endor, first there's the speeder bikes. That's pretty interesting. Then there's the whole thing with the Ewoks. And love or hate the Ewoks, and I love them. You know, that's like a whole dichotomy there. And then there's the Death Star and just all the different one-shots of aliens and spaceships that you barely know anything about, but they're part of that lore. Just so interesting to me that Star Wars did that. So I had fun showing the original trilogy to my son. He's still confused as why it's called 4, 5, and 6. He has not given up on that point at all. But yeah, now I'm debating if I'm going to show him 1, 2, and 3. I might. Will I show him 7, 8, 9? I shan't. A ranking of all Dominion expansions. That I will do at some point. Massive Darkness 2 classes, I'm not sure, but Dominion expansions I will do. Have you ever tried 48-hour make a game challenge or something similar? You mean make a game in 48 hours? No, I would not do that. I mean, well, I guess I shouldn't say I would not. Maybe if someone did it. I just don't see the point of it. I want a game that's well done. These challenges, they like pseudo make a game, but I want a game that's actually a good game. How many games you play a week? Depends on the week. I play a lot. Have you played Quacks at Quellingenberg, the Duel yet? I did not know this was even available. So no, I have not. Are you going to do any predictions for next year? Oh yeah, I do predictions every year. We did predictions for this year. I don't remember what they are. I remember what 1 or 2 was, but I don't remember most of them. We did it in Smorgasbord. Unconscious Mind is not out yet, so people have not really, well, people rated it, but most people haven't played it. I know that dexterity games like Beaver Creek, Tokyo Highway, and Men at Work tend to get positive reviews, but they're out of print because they don't sell that well. They sell fine, but they don't have this consistent selling base. In fact, most games don't. Dexterity games, there are a dime a dozen, right? There's a lot of dexterity games, mostly Jenga ripoffs. But so when a good one comes out, everyone's like, woo! But they don't seem to make the big bucks when selling. That's probably why they're out of print. Looking forward to the new Star Wars Unlimited set. What cards are you most excited about? Well, other than, I looked at, when they first announced it, I looked at the new Baby Yoda card or Grogu card. But other than that, I've deliberately kept myself from seeing almost anything. And I did that on purpose because I want to, I'm getting my cards tomorrow night. I hope. I'm getting my cards tomorrow night. And I want to look at all the cards. I want to open a pack and not just say, ooh, what's the rare card? I want to look at every card in that pack and see how I'm going to put them in sets and things. I'm very excited about that. So I know almost nothing about the cards, and I've deliberately kept it that way. I want to be surprised what's in the new set. How far have you got Sky Team? I've not played Sky Team. I played a prototype version of it several years ago, and I really disliked it. Now, again, maybe I would like actual Sky Team, but I haven't played it. Any chance on a part 2 of the worst board game covers of all time? Maybe, but that would be pretty hard to do. Any interest in the upcoming Stormlight Archive RPG system? I don't know. I'm currently rereading the Stormlight Archive. I just finished book 3. And I'm now starting book 4 again, which I still think is the weakest book in the series. Still very good, but the weakest book. Because book 5 is coming out in December, and I want to be prepared to read it. Jedi is great. It was my favorite growing up. When I got older and found people ragged on it, I couldn't believe it. Yeah, I don't know. Return of the Jedi was always fantastic for me. It was so satisfying from beginning to end. So epic. So much cool things in that. To see the Emperor. The whole Jabba's Palace thing was this exotic, cool fight. The sequence on the sail barge is still one of my favorite sequences in Star Wars history, period. I love it from beginning to end. The music is great. The battle at the end is epic. And I like the Ewoks. So for me, it was just very, very satisfying thing to watch. Star Wars is super awful. And again, if you like Star Wars Episode 9, that's fine. It's just that, again, I don't like things that ruin other movies. Like, you're like, well, the other movie, and again, I don't really care if I spoil this. In Star Wars Episode 9, basically it starts out by going, the Emperor has returned. How did the Emperor return? Why did he return? So I now have watched Return of the Jedi. It's been a while, so I watched it. The Emperor got thrown down the shaft, and then the Death Star exploded. He's dead, but somehow he returned. They don't explain it. And it's just, then why did that movie exist? I dislike stuff like that. The new characters were fine and everything from Star Wars, and I like 7 better, even though, I felt like, I don't know. I was just thinking about this because I guess they did this with the new Axel Foley thing. Why anytime a movie has a good ending and then you go in the future and they do it, they're like, but also these people are losers. They're estranged from their children. Everything has gone poorly for them. I'm like, well, okay, that sucks. You know, I was kind of hoping they would have a somewhat and then everyone lived happily ever after situation going on. I think the age you are when you watch Star Wars movies for the first time has an impact on which trilogy you like the most. Yeah, that's probably true. I should have did the same thing with MCU that you did with Star Wars and Red Rising. Endgame was the perfect ending for the whole MCU. Well, I actually would be okay. So I think there's a lot of cool things with MCU. And yes, Marvel Endgame was a perfect ending for it. But I would still watch some of the movies after that, and you could look at them as standalone. I like Shang-Chi. I think you can watch both of the Spider-Man movies were fantastic. The one that came out directly after Endgame was a nice coda to Endgame. And then the follow-up, Spider-Man, was amazing. Like, really amazing. So I really like that one. And I like the Scarlet Witch. I mean, the Vision miniseries, and then the Doctor Strange and Multiverse of Madness. Not perfect. There's problems with them, but they were good. The What If series is fantastic. And there's various good things, right? The problem is they did all these TV shows. Hawkeye was very good. I liked Hawkeye too. But they did all these TV shows, they did all this stuff, and then they built up, and then it just went nowhere. Now, they just released a trailer for the new Captain America, and I'll watch it. Why not? You know? I like Falcon as Captain America. That's pretty cool. And Harrison Ford, that looks neat. Deadpool's another thing entirely. I'm not sure how that combination is going to work, but we'll see. Still waiting for the X-Men, but whatever. I guess they're here now and Deadpool, but still. Do you think AMG dropped the Star Wars X-Wing and Armada games because of a diminished interest in the Star Wars franchise? I'm not 100% sure why, so we're just guessing, right? I'm assuming there's licensing involved, and they're not selling as well as they used to be, and they're working on Star Wars Legion and their other brands. So who knows? There's a million reasons. I don't know that it's because of diminished interest in the Star Wars franchise, but maybe so. Have I played the new Crossbows and Catapults by Restoration Games? No, I don't know if it's out yet. We have not got a copy of it. How much should I keep up Marvel Champions? Not at all. Roy covers that one, so I don't do it at all. Halfway through book 4, it's rough, not my favorite of the ones out so far. Well, I'll tell you, it ends really well. Well, I mean, all the books end well. Has a good ending, and there's some really strong points in it. It just, that book 4 definitely feels like we're getting ready to do book 5 at the end. We'll see. Did I get a chance to play the new expansion for Crusaders? I Will Be Done? No. They explain how Palpatine returns in the comics much better. No, they didn't need to bring him back. You don't need to keep bringing back people. Let people stay dead. Cloning, maybe. Sabalth in the Zahn books, that worked in a much better way, actually. Better to make a big time jump. Let the original characters live happily, then pick up with all the new characters. See, I agree on this. You can jump, you can have some of these old characters be like, oh yeah, back in my day. They can show up every once in a while if you want that fan service. But, like, Han and Leia, they got together, that's exciting. But in the future, nah, they broke up. Luke, finally a Jedi. In the future, nah, he's bitter and disillusioned. I don't need all that stuff, come on. Brandon Sanderson streams Elden Ring plays. That's pretty funny. I did not know that. I did not realize they were making Marvel movies. Yes, I'm sure. When raising your kids, are there certain kids' books that were a tradition in your home? I don't know if I had the kids read anything in particular. I have a bunch of books in my home. I mean, I have lots and lots of kids' books. And I'll say, hey, you should read this, read this. Just recently, I told my son, you're going to read this book, and for life, man, I can't remember what the book it was. I'm like, but it's a great book, so read it. Have a great week and get some rest. You still look a bit under the weather. I'm sorry. Maybe it's the lighting. I hope not. I'm feeling much better for sure. But I will rest as much as I can. Oversaturation. We'll drop the saturation. Do I look better now? How about now? Now I'm not looking so hot. What about now? What? Okay, now I need to reset everything. There we go. That's a little better. Do I look sick now? What? Now I look like a ghost. Okay, I need to stop fooling around with the settings here. Okay. How about now? What? Hey. Hey. Anyway, I'm getting off topic here. Do you read any lit RPG books? And if so, which is your favorite? I don't know that I like them. I'm still looking for a good one. Because I love the idea of someone leveling up. So if you've never heard of a lit RPG, it's kind of like someone's going through life and they're leveling up. And there's some famous ones and not famous ones out there. And there's like gobs of them. And I've read a lot of them. And I'm struggling to find one I enjoy because the concept I like. I like the idea of someone leveling up in real life. What I'm not as much of in love with is sometimes it's so on the nose. They're like, boop, you have leveled up. I'm like, okay, great. But couldn't we write a little bit more naturally? And they're just not as exciting as I would want them to be. A lot of them are very badly written too. I'd like to read a very good one where someone levels up and it's more natural, I think. Have I read Project Tall Mary? I don't even know what that is. Project Hail Mary. That's Project Hail Mary. Sorry, I guess it's a gripping sci-fi novel written by Andy Weir. I have not. There's a recent trend to talking about constructive criticism versus excessive negativity. How do you guys at Dice Tower handle those topics so you can deliver a quite enjoyable yet trustful review? I don't know. We just tell you what we think about it. I mean, I think if a game is bad, we should say so. I've always said this in the past. I mean, we're doing no service to our viewers if we say everything's good, which it's not, clearly. And I know that publishers don't like that, designers don't like it, but we got to call a spade a spade. That being said, if you dislike most games, perhaps you're in the wrong hobby. And you're also not cool for disliking a game everyone else likes. Like, I just saw someone comment it. They're like, finally someone said something bad about Sky Teams. There's a reason I haven't done a negative review on Sky Teams because, well, I haven't played it. But I'm not here to play it and then say, yes, everyone else is wrong. Now, maybe I will think that, right? Maybe I would think that everyone else is wrong about Sky Team. I haven't got around to playing it. And I don't know that I really want to because I didn't enjoy it when I played it in prototype form. But I also haven't, really reviewed it or talked much about it because I don't want to be negative just because someone needs to be negative. Now, that being said, when we play a game I don't like, I'm definitely going to be negative about it. So there's a bit of stuff back in. For me, Book 3 is the best one. We're still talking about Stormlight Archive. But Book 4 is the best Santa Lunch. I don't think so. I think Book 3 is the best one. Book 3 is amazing. Book 3 is the best in that series by a mile. Hopefully Book 5 will equal it. Have heard about the new Lord of the Rings anime coming soon. I have not. The final scenes in Book 2 and 3 are some of my favorite action scenes in any book I've ever read. I 100% agree on that. They really are. Book 3 just has me coming out of my seat. Book 2 also has really good action sequences. Even Book 1. Book 4 is a more thoughtful book. Has some cool action sequences. It's just not quite the same. Do you have any thoughts on Rogue One? I liked Rogue One fine. Nothing worse than people commenting, you should look tired of streamers. No, that's okay. It doesn't bother me that much for people to say it. Oh, the oversaturation was meant in reference to the Marvel Star Wars. Well, I thought maybe it meant on how tired it is. Do you have a go-to color when playing games? I'm trying to get away from this. My color is red. Well, I play all different colors. I play purple, red. And Chris and Wendy mentioned that they try to play different colors so they don't get caught up in that. And I thought, yeah, I guess that is the case. Because I was talking to somebody the other day, and they had a passive-aggressive shirt on and said, if you play blue, I'll move your piece. And I said, well, what if you run into someone else who also plays blue? They're like, well, I just won't play with that person. And that, to me, feels bad. Like, I won't play with someone because they happen to play the same color as me. I like the idea of playing a different color and just going for it. Now, I will insist that if we're going to play games back-to-back, that we try to stay the same colors, because I just was playing red. I'm going to keep playing red in the next game, but that's it. You seem to really enjoy Terrorscape. Are there any other horror-themed games you enjoy a lot and would recommend? Well, Terrorscape is probably my favorite of the bunch right now, but Mansion of Madness is also really good. If it was more natural than that, just character progression, no, I get it. And again, I don't mind that there's things happening. It's just that sometimes it's so overwhelming. I'll read it and it'll be like, you're now level 300, strength up by 1, this, that, and this and that and that, and this and that and that. And sometimes it just, I just feel like I'm reading a video game. I wish there was some sort of thing in between those. Has there ever been a game that you previewed with the designer present and thought, oh boy, this game sucked, but didn't have the heart to say it? Oh, sure. But I will often mention my thoughts to the designer off camera because it can still be fixed. Okay, well, that's that. Lots of questions still here that I didn't get to, but I will try to get to some more of them as we go into the future. Besides, I'm going to be back in a few hours to talk about the stats for the most played games. Dice Tower East. Z will be joining me, and we're just going to take a look at numbers and stuff like that. There's lots of different things coming out this week from the Dice Tower. We got our top 10 games. Start with the letter B coming out. We already did A. We'll do B. We have a live play at the end of the week where we're playing, you know what, I should probably pull up my schedule here instead of just telling you. Okay, so that's next week's schedule. To this week's schedule, let's tell you what's coming out here. Bloom, bloom, bloom. Today is the 15th, so there we have it. I already mentioned today. Tomorrow, Mike's playing through 20 Strong in the morning. I'm reviewing Wild Gardens with my girls. Then on Wednesday, I'm going to be reviewing World Spanner Factions. That's Duel of Ages 3, essentially. So keep an eye out for that. The Gang, like I said, top 10 games start with B. Board Game Smorgasbord. We're playing Luthier on Friday from Paverson Games, the folks who made Distilled. So that'll be interesting to try out. And we'll be reviewing the new expansion for Expeditions from Stonemaier Games. Link City is on the menu. And like I said, they're doing ARCs this week. And I'm doing a video on credit where credit is due. So a bunch of stuff coming. So hopefully that will whet your appetites for more things coming your way, folks. Thanks so much for watching. Until next time, I'm Tom Vasel, and this has been Q&A on the Dice Tower. Hey everybody, thanks for watching another video on the Dice Tower. Hey, do you want to know what's going on with the Dice Tower? Do you want to know about our events, our cruises, special things that we're going to do live here in the Dice Tower? Subscribe to Dice Tower Digest. Go to dicetowerdigest.com. It's a newsletter that we send out bi-weekly. We won't use your email for anything else. This is just to get you some information about the Dice Tower so you'll be up to date. Thanks for watching.